Oh, fresh bean. Ah, damn, it's doing that thing. Oh, whatever. Okay. All right. Let me start Discord first. Turn down this. Discord. Oh, I could start the event? Cool. All right. Start event. Wait. Oh. Oh, let me fix. Oh, hey everybody. Hold on. I'm just gotta fix my OBS real quick. Okay. Hi. Hello. Let me Okay. Hello. Hi. Okay. Oh, hold on. What the hell's going on here? Oh. Hold on. I'm just fixing my camera on Discord. For some reason, it's being weird. OBS virtual camera. Oh. Let's turn this instance off. I guess because I have two instances on. Oh no, is it going to crash? Let's see. Okay, let me... Oh. It's being glitchy right now. There we go. I think we're back. That's there. Oh, fuck off. Come on. Okay, there. I think we got it working. My stream deck's being weird now. Default copy. Profile one. Nope. That'll do. All right. Okay. So I know it should be a Skywalker, but I had the Cormorant today. So what I wanted to do was get this running on Hibean. I think I have everything working, but this is just another one of those roasters in the 500 gram range. A little bit different. This is gas versus electric. The quality of it is insane. It's all metal. It's a steel drum, I believe, so it's an induction roaster, and it's pretty popular. So I'm gonna roast on this real quick. I want to see how it goes, and then just show everyone how to get it on Hibean, and then I'm probably gonna do work on the Q-bean today, because a lot of people asking about the Q-bean instead of getting a V1, which I think is a good idea. Well, I think the Q-bean's a good idea, but let me make sure I got YouTube chat on. So anyways, so we'll start off with that. We got the Airwave in the back, right over there. Scammer. Then I got this module from Hibean. This is the Hibean Pro Arc. So this is basically just putting a thermocouple into whatever kind of roaster, like SA SR800 or a Sweet Maria Popper, and then getting it to run on Hibean, which is so you could track your roasts. So I thought that was a cool little feature, and I'll be playing with that today. So let me get this camera set up here too. But if you have any Skywalker related questions, feel free to ask. I know it's the holiday season, and a lot of people are wanting to purchase a Skywalker. So if you want to leave a question, you can always leave one in Discord. Someone will answer it. I'll answer it, or someone will answer it. There we go. Oh, let me get my tablet. Grab my tablet real quick. All right, got my tablet here. Let me make sure I have a USB connection. I promise we'll be off. Oops, I should go over here. Okay. Do. All right, everything's there. Oh, I gotta cook up the gas, so I have my gas line here. Well, that's the light. So this one has like a sweet little light you could use. Okay. Well, it's gonna warm this thing up, so we'll get a little bit of the gas open. Hopefully this works. Oh, yeah. Let me close this first. Didn't realize there's a regulator on here too. Oh, okay. Off. We'll go all the way to off. 20 sig. Open. That's open. I hear it. Okay. Oh, you're looking on this while you're at the gym? Gotta get those reps in. Got it! That scared the fuck out of me. Okay. Another control at the bottom. Ah, I think they said it was 500 grams. Or 600? They call it the 600G. So I think it stands for grams. There's that fan. This is like $1,000. I think they're up to $2,000 now for this one. If I could get this running without burning myself. But I got it for $800. So, yeah. Somebody sold it to me. Maybe I know why. Aren't Kaleidos like 2,000? I thought they were 1,800 for a Kaleido. Let's see how much a Cormorant costs. I think I know why this might have costed $800. Let's see. Cormorant roaster. In the UK, propane or fully electric. Tell me more. Let's go. Look at the webpage. Pricing. Okay. We'll look at the price real quick. Let's go to display. So price list. Oh, good. They're not that bad. Full stainless steel roaster pricing package to United States at $125. See, I thought there were more. I thought there were 2,000. So 1,795. Let me see how much that is in American. America. Is there an auto conversion thing? There should be. $2,394. Fuck. So there you go. Nope. Your Venus. From Italy? Okay. Can't wait. Any advice? I've only ever roasted on the cafe. Oh, the Cafe Maisie. Is that one of those air roasters? The 100 gram one. I'm trying to think what I could tell you. Let me just get this one. I need to warm this thing up. But let me make sure. I'm trying not to kill myself. And that's a little dramatic of me, but. Fuck. It keeps like going off, and then like a somewhat implosion happens, and maybe I need to run the fan. Is that a thing? Oh, let me figure this out. If not, then we're just gonna roast with the Skywalker. I had high hopes today. There he goes. No? I keep blowing this shit up in my arm. Sorry. I'm learning a really valuable lesson of testing my equipment first before I go start streaming. I swear to God, I turned on, it blows up, keeps freaking me out. I literally just put it together right now. Hilarity is ensuing right now as I'm... You'd think I would know better, because I used to work in the burns unit, and you'd think I'd second guess trying to get burned to death. Hold up. All right, we're gonna watch a video on how to start this thing. Had all the intentions of running this today. Here, maybe I should watch the video. Or I could do this later. Now I feel like I want to do this outside, not in my garage. All right, well, I'll tell you how this works next time. But it was really simple to get it working with Hibean. You would just grab this unit, splice the ends, and then just plug it in here. And then you would set it up normally how you would set up a Skywalker. But let me turn this off. I will do a better job of testing my shit next time. Let's... Okay, all right. Whoa, fuck. All right, here we go. I gotta tell Kevin later that I tried and I was afraid I was gonna burn myself to death. It's a little dramatic, but... Okay, I'm gonna grab a Skywalker. And I think a lot more people are thinking about purchasing a Skywalker because it's Christmas. Which is great. You're in for a fun time. I have one unit I need to send out, so I gotta make sure it works. There we go. Okay. We're going for the V1 right now. Here you go. This is what we call the V1. I will try burning myself later with the other roaster. So Nagy, I guess, is going to get one soon. So let's do a quick run through of how to use one. It's Talau! I don't know if I'm saying that right. I just had the cormorant out for a quick second, and then I was afraid I was gonna burn myself to death, so I put it away. Yeah, it like blew up like twice. Well, it didn't blow up. It was just the gas was building up. The spark would hit it, and then it would just give a friendly notification that the flame was on, and then off really fast. So I don't know what I did wrong. So I'll have to look that up later. All right. So let's take a look over here. Let me set up my overhead camera because I'm fancy now. All right. Fuck you. Give me the cable. Come on. There we go. Let's see. Does the top work? Oh, of course it doesn't work. All right. Go to OBS. We'll go top. Okay, so it usually comes with a few things. You got your bean stir. Doesn't come with that. So you usually get your bean stir. You got your trier. You got your scoop. Little brush action. This one has styrofoam melted on it because I accidentally put it into the package too fast. And then you have the gate. So those are the main things that you get that they come with. Oh, you also get this beautiful controller, which is amazing. It's my favorite because sometimes it doesn't detect what you input. Like when you press the button, it doesn't really work that well. So here it is. Also should come with one of these standard. I think these are still good to keep just because you're able to use those as a way to test how your roaster is, because they'll give you error codes. So usually if you have an error, it's either E1, which is it could either be the board or the NTC Pro or the temperature sensor, or E3, which just means drum. And when it does that, that means the drum is overcurrent. It's trying too hard. So anyways, so the basic controls, I don't really know the basic controls on this, to be honest. I never used the basic controller other than to test preheat. So you gotta hold it for a second. It's another annoying thing is they don't really well, if you don't look in the manual like I do, they don't tell you that you need to hold this down. You'll hear a beep, and then there's your temperature. You can switch it to American, and you could switch it to everybody else in the world. There you go. So you got your profiles that you can put up if you want to set up for profiles. There's a booklet inside that'll kind of go over like profile 1, 2, 3, 12, whatever you want. Or you can read up on them, and there's a few people that talk about them on the Discord. It's up to you. But yeah, I really don't know much about the profiles, other than that they're there and they're not the greatest, but they work, and some people do enjoy them. So I had a lot of people I have a lot of people tell me different things, like, oh, this roast tasted really well with the bean that it was associated with in the manual, and some people taste like absolute garbage. So it kind of just depends on the bean, where you got it from, how old it is. There's a lot of things that the bean has to be to make sure that profile works. But I don't use the profiles too often. When I do testing, I usually do just the heat. See how it goes straight to 100. I just I like to just see, it doesn't detect that. That bugs the shit out of me. See why I hate this thing? Everything else probably works. I can't control my power. Anyways, that's preheat. It's that's a 2100. Well, usually when you preheat, you want to drop that to 85. I can't do it with this thing because this controller is broken. But some of the controllers work fine. This one just happens to be my special stupid one. We'll turn that off. You can turn it back on. Preheat. There you go. There's springs inside that you might have to jiggle around. And look how sensitive that spring is over here. If I just touch it. I think that's why I have it down there, because this is one of the broken ones. But this shouldn't happen when you get a new one. So don't feel like that's going to happen to you. Oh, it works now. Because I hit, the spring probably got loose in there. If you open these up, they're kind of, it's like this faux touchscreen, capacitive or whatever. I don't know. It's some kind of weird touchscreen. I'm not a huge fan because sometimes it does that. It doesn't really function. And you have to kind of tap it a little bit to move the springs around inside, and then it'll start touching the PCB or whatever. Then that's your fan. That controls the exhaust fan. And then cool is the cool bean cooling fan. And then always want to start off with the preheat. If it's your first one, you could keep it at like 80 for about, I don't know, when it reaches like 200 degrees Celsius, and then wait there for 5 minutes. 5 or 10 minutes. It's up to you to kind of warm up the system, or some people like to say they're burning it off, whatever oils are in there. They used to do heat runs right before shipping them out, but they stopped. They stopped because I think it's just it takes a long time. They're roasting beans basically for free. So they just put the green beans in. They rotate the drum, see if everything works, and they ship them off. You'll usually get 1 or 2 green beans when you get them, because that's how they do their QC test before leaving their facility. These are all built on order, so when somebody orders them, that's when they build up. That's why they like group buys, because you could order 30 and they could make 30 at a time and send them. Where the vendors, they'll have to order them in bulk and then they get them sent that way. But yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna turn this off. Now, God damn you. So for a while that was well, for the first 2 months, this is how people were roasting with it. It's fine. It works great. Yeah. Okay. So Nagy brings up a good point. I live in Egypt. I can get a V1 locally. Otherwise, the V2 is more expensive, and customs here are a bitch. One of the reasons the customs are such a big bitch when it comes to the V2 is their idiotic Bluetooth module with the antenna inside a metal drum that blocks, sometimes drops connections. It hasn't dropped for me that much, but I know people who've had it, the connections drop. Like Talau, he can attest that the Bluetooth connection drops. The only redeeming quality of the V2 is that it has a serial port that goes directly into Artisan. Yeah. For us in the US, the reason why places like Espresso Outlet doesn't sell it is because for V2 is mostly because I think is the FCC requires that anything with the Bluetooth module, whether it be an ESP32 or whatever special, the China special that they have in theirs, that requires FCC certification. And that's another 6 to 8 grand that Akimata doesn't really want to spend. Well, then Espresso Outlet also doesn't sell the V1. That's because I don't know why, but I know they don't sell the V2 because of that. I think they were thinking about it, but he said that the quality of the machine and the roasts weren't as good as a Kaleido. That might have been one reason. I don't know. It's pretty interesting when those people talk about comparing the roaster. But anyways. Yeah, Kaleidos are a lot more expensive. Bullets are a lot more expensive. If you were to get a bullet, it's great. I think they're awesome, but I'm not going to buy one because I can't afford one. I say that, but I have a lot of roasters. I just don't want to get expensive ones. I like the sub 1,000 roasters. So every roaster that I have so far, minus the 1 kilogram Skywalker, they're all about close to 1,000 or less. Even my Kaleido M2 is 1,000. Less is 800, and my Cormorant is 800. You can use profiles. Yeah, if you guys haven't, if you guys are using, let me see. Let me ask Mello. Mello has a question. Can I ask you why you chose the V1 with the Hibean module and not, for example, Artisan or V2? It's a personal choice. I actually think Artisan works great. Like, we have people here that just love the open source aspect of it because they could do so much. Like incorporate different things. Like the only person I can think of is Talal when he's incorporating the Airwave to work with Artisan. He's also working on things like a microphone to be added for first crack detention. So he's doing a lot of advanced stuff, but it has that ability to where, if you want to be at that advanced, you're able to do it with Artisan. For me, I chose Hibean because when I organize my roasts, I always do it on different laptops, and I'm completely disorganized. With Hibeam, it's all in one place, so I have all my profiles in one place. I could literally be on Discord pooping in the bathroom, and then someone's like, "Hey, what that roast? Can I see that graph?" And I could just upload it. I could take a picture of it on Hibeam and then upload it to Discord. Other than that, I'd still probably be using Artisan. There's nothing wrong with it. But it's just, yeah, I just like the aspect of my roast being in the cloud where I can access them and share them with people. But other than that, you could do a lot more on Artisan than you can on Hibeam. But Hibeam is a lot more user-friendly. Like, if you were to give me a example of how to roast on an Artisan setup versus a Hibeam setup, it'd be a lot easier on Hibeam just because it's the nature of the user experience is easier. Like, a lot easier. But, I mean, Artisan's not that complicated either. But also, there's also the look factor. Some people don't like it because it looks dated. Which, I know, I get it. If you're going to roast something and be looking at a screen the whole time, I guess you don't want to look at something gross. What is the best firmware to use? The firmware that works best for you. Honestly, I don't know. There's so many releases of the firmware because it's such a community-driven thing with the Skywalker. A lot of people put time and effort to make different firmwares for it, and it's hard for me to expect them to come together and decide to come up with one single firmware we can share and use. So honestly, the one right now, though, the one that I wrote, that's the fucking most garbage code you could use. So don't use that one. I know it's still up there. I've been meaning to update the website for a while, but if you could use the firmware by Bear, I think I put that on the GitHub. Magnum has a good firmware that he recently released that focuses on iOS and connection and things like that. For using the V1, I think Magnum for now. He's testing it, and there's not that many people like testing it and giving me feedback, other than when it breaks and they're like, "Hey, this broke." That's the best kind of feedback I could get. Yeah, I don't take it personally if you tell me it's not working because this is what we need. But I think Magnum has the one I've been using the most, and I'll update this one. This one has the old firmware. This is my one I usually send to people when they order a Hibeam or a Hibeam for V1 from me. I refurbish these from a vendor that gets them back from evil people on Amazon who buy these and use them as production roasters that roast 50 kilograms a month and then return it. So I work on those machines, but usually I fix these up and then I'll add a little Hibeam module because they're only like $8, and I just charge you the cost of Hibeam, and then I pretty 3D print out a nice little fancy case for you. So I'm gonna show you how you upload that. But there's also you can also buy a Hibeam module directly from Will himself, the guy who runs the thing. Him and another guy run Hibeam. You could buy their module, and it's kind of guaranteed to work, from my understanding. But if that's the way you want to go, Like if you want to if you want something easy, you don't want to do the tinkering, you just want your V1 to work, then there's nothing wrong with getting the Hibean one. It costs a lot more, but at least you know it works. Where if you get ours, you're kind of testing it for us, and we're not exactly. I'm not a software developer or anything. I work in the medical field, so I don't do this professionally. I do this for fun, and I enjoyment out of people learning and roasting. So. But they're smaller for around 55. The reason why there's not a lot of for the smaller S5 specifically, there's not a lot of like modification or anything is because I literally haven't had me and other people that have it haven't had any time to put modifications into it. And right now the only modification I could think of putting in a smaller S5 is replacing the bean cooling fans to something adequate. Okay, Repat, we'll go over the new update. I can show you where it's at. It's on GitHub. I'm supposed to do a update to the Skywiki too. It's using the old one that I wrote. Actually, I don't even know I wrote that one, and that might have been somebody else who actually helped me write the code. But that's why I have people try to upload pull on their GitHub pages so I can give them the right recognition. But yeah, I'll show you how to update it. But basically, for the smaller S5, yeah, there just hasn't been much time for me to put it in. I actually won't be roasting a lot with it until I get an electrician to install a sub panel, because every time I roast with that machine specifically, it has the 3 lamps running at 600 watts each, and I think it goes over like maybe a little or close to 15 amps, the 15 amp draw. So and I only have one connection in my garage, or 2 connections in my garage. And the rest I have to pull in from my house, so I need to get a sub panel installed. And every time I've been roasting with it, it trips the circuit. Unless I bring it inside and I roast with the smaller S5, then I get a decent roast in there, and it's pretty good. Comparing my roasters, I have the small S5, the Kaleido M2, and the Skywalker. All of them kind of roast in the same. Let me get a camera. In the same, like they all taste pretty similar. I can't say one is better than the other. It's just the way you roast it. Yeah, and that's pretty much it when it comes to these roasters. I mean, there's people that say that the Kaleidos roast better than the Skywalkers. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I've had roast come out of my Kaleido taste worse than my Skywalkers, and I have my Skywalkers have roast come out worse than my Kaleido, and I roasted them kind of similar with the declining ROR. So, it's kind of leading me to suspect that maybe the declining ROR, similar to what a Kaleido would need, they're not they don't apply to each other. You might need to roast a little bit differently on a Skywalker than you do on a Kaleido. That I just don't know how to roast with my Kaleido that well, because I haven't put any of the hours into it. But anyways, let's start off with putting the Hibean module in. So what you want is an ESP32 module. We have determined that this one, I should fix my buttons. So there is this ESP32S3. I think this is the 0. Yeah, this is the 0, and then there's the Super Mini. They're both the same form factor, but for some reason they're different in terms of how their GPIO pins work. So that doesn't really matter, because the S3 technically runs a GPIO pin through that USB port, which is why we like using it, so we could just directly connect it without having to solder anything on here. But if you were to run a code with, say, you wanted to add a thermocouple and you had a max amplifier, you couldn't share those 2 codes between like a S3 or between a Super Mini and a 0. But you could get any of these 2; they should work. I think both of them work with the code. We'll find out. This is a Super Mini in here, and it's just, you could tell it's the black PCB one. Open this up. So basically, there's the black PCB S3, and then there's the blue one. The Zero, I think they got it working with the LED, so it can tell you when if it's working right. Like I guess if it's green, it's working. If it's red, it's not. And somebody put the code in for that. But I like using the Super Mini because they're the cheapest one on Amazon. And if you're just plugging in this into the roaster, then that's all you need to do. Let me let's get to updating the firmware. So updating the firmware, let's go to desktop. We'll go to this. Let's go here. All right. So we got Sky Command. Let me give you the link to this too. So there's two. This one's forked from the original Skywalker roaster. So if you have the Nano, I think we're moving away from the Nano. And this is just another nerd thing. It's just to support, your. Basically, Qualcomm would go fuck himself and go off somewhere else. We'll just stick with Chinese ESP32s. So I made a branch separate that's more ESP32 focused. Yeah. So, anyways, here is the link. And that's where I kind of keep everything for testing and dev, and then everything I put on there, I try to make as open source as I can. So I usually, if somebody does firmware, I try to ask for the code as well, so I could share it with everyone. But then some people don't like doing that, which I understand because some people will literally take that and sell it on AliExpress. We've had a few people sell like cheaper Hibean modules for on AliExpress. But then I just go around, and if it's in the US, I usually just undercut them and I'll just sell them at cost. Anyways, so for now, there's a few you could pick from. The latest one would be, this should be the last week one. I think it's should be under Hibean. Okay, and then I think 1.63 is the latest one, and it should be under Skywalker Quick. Yeah, this is the one. This is one. 114 is the newest one, binary, that we have uploaded. So you want to download that, and you just want to click download right here. Download from source file. Okay. And then you want to go to this website called Web ESP Home. Copy that here. There's this one. Let me go back to that screen. Sorry. There you go. So you want to go to Web ESP Home. And this is how you're going to upload the bin file to it. Let me go ahead and let me get that camera back up. So with this, just here. Usually when you buy them new, you don't have to hit the boot button. But just to be safe, I always just, with these ESP32s, I always like to look for the boot button. Hold it before I plug it in. Good. Or you can even hold the boot button and hit reset. Sorry, I'm fat fingering this right now. Good. You'll kind of hear that little beep, 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 and then that's what's called. It's in flash mode. So now you could flash mode, yeah. So now you can. The Daily Drop wants to speak. Not today, sir. Maybe in a bit. Let me go over this with them. All right. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to connect. And then you're going to look up this thing called USB, something like USB JTAG debug unit. And that's what you want to click on. And if you ever have a doubt, because see, I have another ESP2 somewhere on there. Oh, shoot. Switch back. I got to press that button. Thank you. My Steam Deck's not working, so I thought I pressed the button. Sucks. Anyways, let's go back. Anyways, connect. And then you're going to look up USB JTAG serial debug. Then you want to click on there, hit connect. Then you want to go install, choose that file, and then downloads. Then you want to hit the bin file right here. Just click on there. You don't have to really read all that. And then after that, you just hit install. This will do all the erasing and uploading of the firmware. Doing that. There we go. And you just wait. It should take a few minutes, a minute or so. Sometimes they'll get stuck at 99. Just hold on. it'll clear, I promise. I think it works the same on Mac. You just have to use, I think it does. Maybe you have to use Google Home. Or no, you have to use Google Chrome. I have a MacBook somewhere. It's my work MacBook. I just don't want like patient information to be shown. I think it's on Chrome. Don't. If not, then maybe you could find a computer that has it. I think the only person I know that has like Mac is Talal. But I might work on it. I don't know. But yeah, but the thing is, it has to be on Chrome. I think I tried it on Edge and it didn't work. But Chrome, it worked just fine. Okay. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, yeah. Either or. I should really start roasting on the Mac too, just so I get a better user understanding. Okay, so that's it. And that's really the bulk of it. Now you just got to find one of the key parts of this roaster is making sure you get a quality USB-C to USB-A port. So let me go find one. Or a USB-A plug. A lot of the cheap ones don't work that well. Which we found out, unfortunately. The ones that work really well are the ones I usually get from my 3D printers. Like my, like I usually get like these small USB cables for my 3D printers, and they usually work fine. Of course, I've been giving them away too, so I need to stop doing that. Here it is. So let's go ahead. All right, so we get this, plug it in here. And then those buttons aren't working anymore. Front. That's top. And just plug this in back into where that USB port is in the back. So the USB port is right. USB port is right here. So we'll plug that in there. Oh, man. Move this back over here. Sorry, let me get my mic. It fell on the floor. Oh. Shit, where'd it go? Fuck. Aw, damn. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay. Okay, I got my mic. Fell on the floor. All right. And then, perfect. So let's do this. So now that's all set up. That's it. That's all you need to do to add Hibean firmware on. We tried our best to make it as simple as we can. And that's the kind of goals, to make it as easy as possible. Cheap and easy. And no, these are not fidgets. Sorry, I'm always saying that because some guy was like, don't use fidgets. They're not the same. All right, bro. So, yeah. Best thing to do, though, is don't keep this on here because it gets hot and there's actually EMI that happens. Yeah, I actually have one. I use that one specifically for testing. If I want a unit that I'm going to send out and I want to make sure it works well. Here it is. So here's the Hibean unit from Hibean itself. 40 bucks. You support Will because she's trying not to charge us, which I find is really nice. But I know eventually he's going to have to charge us something. But because not everything is just free. They're not like us over here where we try to keep everything free. So that might be an issue. Hopefully, well, I think he uses ESP32. It's not just kind of some janky Chinese, like super cheap Chinese clone one. It's like it uses ESP32, and those are usually on like pre-certified lists for FCC, from what I understand. So those aren't as hard as to get in, from what I understand. But that's if you want to get FCC certification. For the US, they'll just send it because it's a DIY thing. But I'm not sure how they do it over there. Anyways, keep this module away from the roaster just to prevent any EMI, electromagnetic interference. That's what Will from Hibean said. That's a lot of drop connections were happening. I think he was being nice because that was back when I wrote the code and there was a lot of drops happening. And then a lot of people fixed it. And now drops are occurring less on BLE. So now we're going to plug it into Hibean. I just have to set up my tablet real quick. Okay. SCR. I have to run this app called Screen Copy so we're able to see what we're doing. Oh, did it work? It did not.
plug it in the front. There we go. Screen. So I'm going to run screen copy. Hopefully it works. Perfect. All right, let me get it back onto that screen. OBS. All right, so this is just my tablet. So just install Hibean on your tablet and then click on Hibean. Since I'm going to set up a new one, I'm going to delete this one. If you ever need to delete one, you have to just do it this way. But, so when you're adding a new V1, first you want to click on the plus sign. Then you want to scroll through. You'll usually find Skywalker right here. So there's Skywalker and then there's Skywalker Delta. Basically V2 versus V1. So the first one's V1 and this is V2. What we want to do is click on the Skywalker, or not click, but tap. So HB, that means it was developed, that's the unit that was developed by Hibean. So it would be that black unit I just showed you. But for us, we're the community version, developed by supposed experts. So we'll go here and we'll click that. All right. So when you're looking for it for us in here, you're looking for ESP32 Sky Command BLE. That's the kind of long name to help clarify, which roast you're going to pick. So usually it's ESP32 Sky Command BLE. So you'll hit add. Good, pairing's a success. All right, and then you just want to go through quick controls. Things when I do quick controls for the first time, I'm just literally listening out for how fast like something where like a fan were to turn on. So let me plug my microphone in so you can see how fast it reacts. Okay, that's a good sign. Good. Good. You'll hear a click. That usually means that the thyristor's opening up to basically send all the, I guess open the gate so it connects to each of the mains to turn the lamp on. I think that's how it works. So yeah, and I'll usually keep the fan on. It goes up by 100, so I'll turn that off quick, and then if I want to do any further testing with heat, I'll go to Go Device, and then you want to start a manual roast. Usually this is kind of left blank, but if it's your first roast, let me get a blank one. Switch. Oops, that's not it. Well, just imagine that part's blank. Usually this is blank when you first start using it. Don't mess with any of the automations yet. If this is your first time roasting, just get kind of used to how it feels using this app. I usually go to Start Manual, and then I'll turn the drum on. So turn the drum on, see if it's working. Then fan, and then heater. Heater jumps to 5, which is kind of nice, but you want to bring it up to 80 to warm up. I'll do 85 to warm up. Keep the fan up high, as recommended. Some people do it low, some people do it high. Just start off high when you first do it, until you start getting a feel for how you roast. There'll be times where you'll want to use it maybe at a lower setting. Is it working now? Is the mic working now? Yep. I think I left my mic. Okay, good. All right. So we'll take a look at the roaster again.
because there's a few things you shouldn't do when you start roasting, because it'll overheat the unit. Let's go back to Venus. So you want to make sure you got this in, you got the trier in, and you got the gate in. Some people like to roast with the gate open. Don't do that because it doesn't make the unit hot enough. So anyways, first time running it, run it for 10 minutes. If you have seasoning beans or beans you just want to throw away, then feel free to use those beans to kind of clean up the inside of the drum. Like I said, I don't think they heat up the drum before shipping anymore, so they might have all those factory oils. So it might be a good idea to start seasoning. I used to not recommend seasoning, or you didn't have to, but now I just leave it up to you. Especially if they're not roasting with it when they send it before sending it to you. I feel like it's better for you to kind of use those sample beans and just kind of clear out the drum, clean it up a bit, suck up all the nasties. So from here on out, my setup is going to be a little bit different. I use an Airwave. The reason I use an Airwave is I roast in my garage, and my wife believes if I put a hole in the garage, she'll kill me. So I'm not going to put a hole in the garage. I'm just going to go ahead and spend more money on buying fancy toys. So I got an Airwave. It's kind of cool. I don't recommend buying it. It's a very niche situation where you would actually need one. You could literally open your window and put your exhaust out that way, and it would work just as fine. But if you're one of those few that live in an apartment who wants to roast and can't because your neighbors are worried of all the smoke, or you'll lose your place or something at your where you live because you're roasting coffee and there's too much smoke, then I recommend getting the Airwave. And this comes with these little vents that you can use to exhaust it out. It comes with 2, so it's actually pretty generous of them. They give you 2 of these. They fit pretty well. In terms of how you want to vent it, it's kind of up to you. Some people like to vent it like a direct connection to each of them without any like air gaps. Some people like to roast. They'll set it up like this, or they'll have like a little hood, and it'll kind of be above it, and there'll be a hood on there that's sucking it out. Some people like to roast that way. I've been finding that way causes less like that coffee oils to run down the back of the roaster, and less chance of like of those oils dripping down the back of the roaster. But for me, I use the Airwave, so I'll just do it like this. I don't do a complete seal. I just do like open, like I just do like a hood setup, like a little bit of air around here. It should work just fine. Let me turn on my Airwave. Yeah, tell me how the Xiaomi air purifier works. If that works for you, that's great. But it's hard to control the smoke unless you get it right at the source of where it comes out. Like I tried an air purifier in the room, like a small room, and having that run while it roasts, and it still gets way too smoky. But I always say it's best to exhaust outside. Just not have your roaster outside, because that also affects the roast if it's too cold or too hot. Oh, God, one thing I'm not keeping an eye out. Let's go back to Hibean.
So I didn't turn on the target temp, so it's just going to keep creeping up. So with this one, you want to auto heat. You could do it that way, or you could just hit start preheating, and it'll just kind of start the preheat for you. Usually what start preheating does is it turns the PID on temporarily just for when you're warming up your roaster. So how do you decide your charge temp and heat and fan settings for each roast? For me personally, I always, if it's a new bean, I just do this like I'll stick to 200, and then I usually just keep the fan at like 55-50. Or what's even better is if you had someone who had the same exact bean, and they're really cancel, and they're really nice. You can go on this website. Rostetta, and then I like to look through it, and then I'll go by roaster type, and I'll look for Skywalker. And then you can kind of get an idea of what people tried, how they approached it, and what they did. Because depending on the bean, you might need to have a lower charge temperature or a higher charge temperature. Some are a little bit more sensitive than the others. Some are like higher altitude ones can take a little bit more heat than lower altitude ones are a little bit more delicate. Usually the higher density ones are a little bit more higher density beans can take on heat a little bit better than other beans, but you have to know the altitude and kind of those things of where the beans are at. So it's good to no. I basically look at the altitude, see if it's high enough, and then I'll know. Okay, I could start out at 200°C, or maybe even a little bit higher if I really wanted to roast super fast. But if I'm shooting for like a 9-minute, 10-minute first crack roast, I'll keep it at 200, see how it does, and then it's all about roasting and re-roasting. So what you want to do is just like roast it once. I usually keep it at 250, and then roast it, see how it does, and then on the next roast I'll adjust it to where if I want more heat to make it roast faster, or stop the heat at a certain point to slow down in a certain phase if I want to. But the biggest thing is buying a lot of beans and then roasting them till you're comfortable with how they taste and how you're approaching your roast. There's no yeah, you can't like just grab a random profile and then put it in and expect it to work for every single bean. You kind of have to. I like to say you have to develop a profile first by trying it out, roasting it, and seeing what happens, and then adjusting it later by taste. What's crazy to me is when people like look at a roast and they'll be like, "Oh man, that's too long. That's too blah blah blah," because it didn't do certain development at a time. I don't know. Sometimes people get like that where they'll like tell you what you did wrong without ever tasting your beans, and I find that pretty egregious. I feel like you need to taste it to find out what happened that was wrong. For me, if you for and people starting out, keep it easy. So keep it to 50% the whole time or 55% the whole time. Don't feel like you need to change that until you get more comfortable. Until you get more like you want to do more advanced roasting techniques or whatever. If you want to start adjusting your fan. I usually just say keep it at 1 and then see how it works out when you drop the heat at different stages. Don't feel like you need to like have to focus on both, because that becomes really difficult. Like if you're roasting and you're like, oh, I need to adjust the fan here, I need to adjust the heat here at this time, and it's the first time you're roasting with this bean, you kind of like you kind of change so much things in it that you're not understanding what's happening if we kept it on one thing. Like keeping the fan on one thing is a lot more important, and then adjusting the heat and lowering it over time I feel like is a lot better than just like trying to do both at the same time.
I hear people say like they'll in first crack they'll actually jump it up. They'll increase the fan to extract more air, and then I usually do that at the end when I drop. I'll right before I drop, I might jump it up to like 100% fan just to clear it out, and then I'll do the drop as pretty quick just to get a good start on getting the smoke out of there, I guess. But overall, it should be taking the smoke out throughout. That's why you want to keep it pretty high. I think I did it with the fan too low, and that it definitely affects the way the heat is beginning transferred. Yeah, Katao's right. If you don't have active extraction, so basically, if you don't have like a booster fan, like pulling more air out after the exhaust, then 50% airflow should be good enough. Or if you want, you could try Rob Hoose's he did a blog about using a lighter in the front to kind of like see how much airflow is going through. I'll post that blog link up. I used that for a bit, and it was around the 50% mark. So I'll show you let me give you that link. I'll get that later. All right. Anyways, let's But anyways, if you have a bean, you want to see how well you did, or how well someone did with it and what they did, and sometimes they'll put like their tasting notes in there. You can use Rosetta. I find it to be a pretty awesome place, especially when people get these weird beans. I'm like, oh, I wonder what they did, and you're like, why did they do that? Let's look at the king. Let's look at a fan favorite. I should just automatically come up with that, Talau. You need to fix that. You need to put a star by your name. Or by Kevin's name, too. Like, if you want to see good people roasting pretty well, Kevin and Talau have pretty good roast on here. God damn, Kevin. Bruh, you just... We got 18 now? We got a lot of them. There he is. Yeah, so you can look it up what they did. See how nice and see what they did with this bean. Then you can ask him how much he liked it or what he would do or change, and he usually will respond. So thing with about, I don't want to sound like an ignorance, but the thing about with Scott Rao is he has a certain way that he likes to roast, and he has people kind of take it as like the gospel. But obviously not everything will work with the Skywalker because he worked with bigger roasters, production roasters, conduction roasters, and they're a little bit different in terms of how you would roast. They're not. His rules don't exactly like fit 1-in-1 to like a Skywalker, and not because it's special, it's because a Skywalker uses radiant heat. It uses this lamp. So, and the same with Rob Hoose. Except Rob Hoose, he has, well, I gotta resend him a V1 because the other two broke on him. This is really looking like a bad look, but I'm sending him another one. He really, all right, he flashed on Mac. Okay, awesome. So yeah, Rob Hoose he's gonna get one, working eventually. Keep just sending him bad ones. So he's gonna get one to roast with it, and I'm curious to see what he says. When he had it without like any of the artisan or Hibean stuff, he said he had a pretty good roast with it. And he's really intrigued by the price point because he's very interested in having newer roasters roast without like having to drop a lot of coin on it. So I think Rob Hoose is gonna get one, and he might be a better source of how to roast with it eventually. But yeah, just
there's a few things that might be different when it comes to roasting. And a lot of it right now is emerging because there's not too many radiant heat roasters out there. We have Rubase. What's the other one? Sandbox to R2 are the ones that have the kind of setup where the lamp is in the middle and it's using a lot of radiant heat to heat up those beans. So there's only two, and if you kind of like, if you read all this stuff, the white papers that Rubase releases, I mean, it's basically promotional material. There's no way to kind of get around that. Not to say that they're not telling you the truth, but in a sense, they still got to sell a roaster at the end of the day. It's kind of cool to read their white papers, but at the same time, take everything with a grain of salt, even with what I say. Just always take it with a grain of salt. And the best person to know if your roast tastes good is yourself. But yeah, with Rubase, if you were to like listen to them, you would think Radiant Heat Roasting is the king of light roast. But I feel like I get better medium roasts with my Skywalker. At least the ones that have been coming out have been fucking fantastic. But at the same token, I found an old light roast from about 2 months ago, and I tried it. It tasted pretty fucking good. And it must have been like a really ultralight roast. Anyways, I'm going to go back to Hibean. So it's been at 200. It's keeping it steady. Yeah, and once you get better hands-on experience, and that's with every roaster. I feel like any roaster you get, the more you use it, the better you get at it. It's literally just the more reps you put in, and that's even with production roasters. We'll say the same thing. They'll say the more you have experience with it, the better it is. Even watching a new person, I was watching. If you watch the DI Fluid series with a guy who recently got a roast, and he's new, and he's just like didn't really study anything. He just kind of went for it. Even with the best roasters, that's supposed to make it easy. It still could be a difficult task if you don't take the time to learn. Yeah, watching him was kind of like, oh, what's this? What's that? Should I do this? And it's like, oh, you didn't read anything. You just toss it in there. That's cool. All right. So for today, I have a Brazil. So I think prices on there is not getting as crazy as they used to be. So I have this Brazil. Always good idea to read the notes for this one. It's low toned with accents of roasted almond, milk, chocolate covered, flourless torte, and a hint of chocolate malted grains. Wow. They didn't say bittersweet, so that's a plus. Sweet Maria for a while there's a guy on there who's just like fucking bittersweet everything. Brazil bittersweet, Ethiopia bittersweet, somewhere in Nepal bittersweet. So, all right, so I'm gonna measure this out. And just make a good habit of measuring how much beans, with the weight of the beans you're putting in. So this is 454 grams. Because it's just a free measurement you can take, and you don't have to spend any money on fancy equipment to kind of compare what the weight is before and after. That's still the case. Jimmy, you gotta stop putting bittersweet. But everything's bitter and sweet. So yeah, well, that's kind of a running joke for us. It's like, oh, there they are again, bittersweet. All right, so we got that's 450 grams. If you got, if you have a 3D printer, you can print one of these out, and with some magnets, so you can act as a really nice funnel. This is the older model that didn't have the magnet, so it falls over. you don't really need this, but I feel like it. I use it. Aren't you, Venus? They are. Yeah. So I'll use that. I gotta reprint this out anyways. But I'll usually load up my beans on top. One thing is, like, people always ask me, should I leave this open when I'm roasting or closed? To me, it doesn't matter, but I like to leave it ajar. Just because I know it gets caught. And then the worst thing is trying to drop a bean and this is stuck. And you do this whole kind of like stuck thing and you're like, fuck! And then your beans are... You waited 5 seconds and now it's entered third crack, you know? So I just say keep it open just a little bit so when you're ready you can pull it out. If you were to open up the drum, if I open up these side panels and I showed you inside how the drum looked, everything's tack welded, so nothing's like, it's not sealed up like it would a Kaleido, because manufacturing would be more expensive, I guess. And then it's a radiant heat roaster, so we're not relying too much on convection heat. But Rubase relies on convection and radiant heat and all the heats. But yeah, so keep it open just a little bit like that. Keep it ajar, just so you're ready when you're ready to drop. You can just pull that out. And this is hot to touch. So if you have kids, don't ever roast around with them because they're super hot. Okay. Anyways, let's go drop the beans in. Let's go back to Hibean. I'm gonna try to get it set up to where you can see both. Nope. All right, so let's do this. So right now we're gonna do our first roast. I'm gonna keep it nice and simple, nothing crazy, nothing fancy, just nice and easy. Let me put that right there. Let's go back to here. So if you look at the top, you'll see these are where you're kind of... Oh, God damn, I'm going to move this freaking screen. Alright, anyways. So right there that's the target temp and the cooling fan. In case you were wondering what was there. I'm just going to block the target temp because I'm not going to use that anymore when I'm roasting. Alright, so let's go ahead. We're going to get the beans set up. So go from here. I'm going to load it up from here. You don't need this too. You could just pour them in if you want to. But I like to drop them all in once and hit charge. Good. So once I pop it open... Oh my god, make sure the bottom's closed. I forgot to mention that. You're going to do it. It's going to suck, but just letting you know. Yeah, make sure that's on there. Alright, so we dropped the beans. We're just going to wait till it reaches turning point. I forget. I think it turns the heat back on once it reaches the lowest part of turning point. But if not, then I got to make sure I turn the heater back on. That's weird. I'm going to turn it on. Oh. We're gonna let that run while I panic and search and turn on my airwave. I forgot to turn that on. Alright, now I turn my airwave on. You can see the bump where the airwave turned on right there. That's a smart idea. Yeah, the charging area is really small. It was even smaller before. They had this stupid idea of putting a metal cover to block it for some reason, and it just decreases the area even more. People were just like cutting him out. I cut mine out. They don't do that anymore. They stopped doing that. And don't mind the curve in the background. I wish I had left. I wish I had the option just to leave it out when I want to do a new roast. I'm probably gonna drop my heat here. So the yellow line is the ROR curve, and that's what like a lot of people like to follow, and we like to get. The common consensus appears to be if you have a declining ROR, the taste is usually it tastes better for whatever reason. So people usually follow this, where they'll like to have like a declining ROR curve. But I mean, it's not the end of the world if it's not perfect. But that's kind of what you want. Slowly over time, you want to see it decrease. Matter of fact, if you were to like, if I have you can see it mostly in convection heat roasters, like a Kaleido. If you were to leave it at a certain temperature, it will make this curve where it'll go up and it'll slowly kind of go down, even if you leave the heat at 80% the whole time. And you could kind of see it. There we go. I'm making minimal adjustments right now, so this is kind of interesting. It's going up a little bit, so I might like taper it down a little bit more. Oh, you know what? I changed my vent positioning. It was starting to lean. I think that affected it, which is very interesting. Did you read that thing about like vent height and positioning and how it affects like the roast? I think I just saw it in action. Yeah, that little dip and then the raise is I literally just right before I did that yeah, you could tell in the back that I moved that over because it's starting to lean forward. For me, if I feel like it's plateauing or if it's approaching a plateau, I'll start to like decrease it a step at a time. For us, that means it goes in five increments. So if you go from 75 to 70, you kind of see, oh shoot. And then I'm also forgot to check. Ooh, that looks a little burnt-y. I think I was too hot. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to hit dry end. Dry end usually is around 155 to 160. I'm a little bit late on the dry end. And then sometimes you'll pull the trier and then the temperature will go up. Just give it a minute so it could go back down. And just note that you pulled the trier at that time. Oh. They're not behaving nicely. I'm surprised. I usually don't have that kind of too many issues with it. I wonder if the vent positioning really did bug it that much. Yeah, usually I'm waiting for it. There it is. There it is. Dang. Rapat is the no joke, man. He's on it. Oh, that's the worst. It gave me 3 pops and now I don't hear it anymore. Okay, I hear it now. Yeah, you're right on the money with that one. So 188 around that time. So it's going to try jacking up a little bit, so I'm going to just kind of lower it. Because usually after first crack, it does this thing where it drops really low and then it'll pump up really high. I usually just drop the heater percent. Maybe it's because I started so high. I did get first crack at 8:37. I usually shoot for a first crack at around 9-minute mark. Oh, I also did talk about how far I want to bring it into first crack. So I always notice like maybe a minute 30 is usually on the lighter side. I've been a fan of mediums recently. Like I don't know what's going on with me. I'm not a. I used to think light roast is where it was at. I'm kind of just liking medium roast. So I'm gonna pull this out maybe around the 2-minute mark. Oh, I wasn't paying attention. Let's do. I want my end of roast temperature to be higher. Yeah, I'll do around 2 minutes and 15 seconds. I'll pull it out. All right, so I'm gonna drop it from here. hit drop, confirm, cooling fan should turn on. Very important that when the beans drop, you should agitate them. And you got to make sure the fan's on. Because if you don't do any of those, and I'm going to tell you by experience, if you just drop them, don't turn the fan on, don't agitate them, this section right in the middle will usually get into first crack or second crack. Or certain sections will get into second crack. So it's a little bit colder in my garage, so this actually does pretty well if I just kind of close it halfway. Just let it handle it like that in terms of cooling off the beans. So that's kind of like how you would roast. I'm more reactionary, I guess. If I see it start to trend upwards, I might lower it a tad bit at a time. So I usually go for a downward trend. I'm not perfect. It smells good though. Damn, that smells really good. Give it like at least 5 minutes. It should cool off in about 5 minutes or so. But if for some reason you got a unit and it's not cooling the beans off after a roast in 5 minutes, you can also consider using an external bean cooler if you want to. Kind of up to you. A lot of people do that, especially for those people using these as production roasters. I guess they buy 2 of the external coolers, and then they'll literally like put one in, let that cool off on its own, and they'll swap in the other one while the other one's running, and they just keep going. They're doing 50 kilograms a month on this thing. That's stupid. That's crazy. So, and I don't think it'll last if you do it that way too. It definitely won't tolerate doing that many roasts back to back. I'll kind of show you what it looks like if you were to do a lot of back-to-back rows. So there's all the metal gear. This is the drum motor. Sorry, this is your drum motor. Okay. You take a peek. You got metal, 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 and then there's one plastic gear. And if you heat it long enough, or you just keep doing back-to-back rows, one after the other, you're charging it at like 210 degrees Celsius. You'll eventually get to the point where you'll kind of get the gears weak, and if you overheat it, it'll kind of work. The plastic gets soft enough to where you can't move it anymore. So a regular motor would just turn that little gear, but this one they're all melted and jammed up from basically melting. So yeah, they're not even turning it anymore. That kind of turns it, but I think it's right here in the middle. I push it into it, it does pretty good. Yeah, it's just the meshings are a little bit weird. The meshings are all are messed up. See if I can pop it out. I can pop it out. So yeah. See. Whoa. That top side is where that gear interface is, and it's all just mashed up, softened out.
The motor is toasted. This is the unit I got back where the inside was like, you could tell that there was a fire, and they said, nope, and they put it back in the box and they sent it back to Amazon. They said the unit was defective. Yeah. Amazon don't care. These roasters are so cheap that they don't. Why would they care, right? They're $150 to produce. They buy them in, pretty sure Precision buys them at $200 a pop. And they sell them for $400. And yeah. Oh, and then let's go back to things you should do after you roast with Hibean, just so you're good, because you always want to make sure you complete your log. So you can kind of look at all this stuff. Try not to think the red is bad. It might drive you crazy, but they're not. It's not bad. I think it's just telling you. It's just red for real. I don't know why it's red, to be honest. I should ask him. So make sure you put your green weight in. So it started at 445 or 454. Confirm. Now we're going to do the roasted weight. This should be cooled off by now. That's cooled off. So once it's cooled off, I'm going to remeasure it, and I make sure I add it into my roast, my roast record. What he's stuck on. There you go. Good. All right. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to measure this. Or you could use your scoop. It's not a bad idea. Just use that scoop to get them in there. Let me make a little 3D print attachment so I could just funnel it all in one area. Okay, so final roast weight is 388. Confirm. So I got a 14% weight loss. That should be good. You just don't want to be lower than 11%, I think. Then you can add all your other notes. Like if you like, you can literally grab one and just pop them in your mouth, see what they taste like. Oh, okay. I had a little bit of grease in my hands. I was like, why does it taste like motor oil? Yeah, I think that's the motor oil. Oh, not motor oil, but gear oil. So right now you could yeah, just so I can so I could get that curve to descend and not be like up and down, just to kind of control it. Although some argue you just keep it there and you let it ride in the center, and then you have it heat up that way. Someone was telling me that for them that came out good. That's why I have the Cubian, so I could try like different ROR curves. Because I have some people tell me they do the curve or, you know, the up and the descending one. One told me to like have it descend and then in the middle of the roast make sure it plateaus the whole time.
That's what I think too. I always thought they got way too dark for me if I leave it, and I like to taper down. And then there's one roaster who's told me, just for the fun of it, just to use like the principle of radiant heat, is to kind of let the thermal momentum take over, and you just put the lamp to 0 after first crack. That was on a podcast. I think it was with Morton Munchhouse he was talking about. Where he was like, he wanted a roast where he'd hit first crack with a radiant heat roaster, and he would just shut off the lamp. So with this one, I noticed a little bit sour, I guess. Sour. This is not a legit way of tasting it. Of course, you have to want to brew it, but a lot of the older roasters like to taste it. You don't need to taste it. I do it because I like to see what the older roasters like to do. Get a general idea. Let me read that bag. Kind of orangey. Almond milk covered chocolate nuts. Tort. Melted grains. Okay, maybe I touched in the melted grains. Interesting. Brazil, Canastra, Luis, Otavio, Lot 2. After that, after you record everything, maybe put the notes in from eating. I'll say eating or taste. I should come up with the acronym for eating it after roast, but eat. It kind of tastes a little weedy. Weedy. Yeah, okay. Grain. This is not, you're not selling me on this roast. Okay. But that's just tasting it. You don't need to do this. But I'm always a fan of people doing one right after a roast. Like just sampling it right after roast so you can see how it develops over time. And I feel like you get a better appreciation of a roast if you kind of see what it tastes like at the beginning, wait a few days to degas, and see how it, kind of ends. And you don't necessarily have to do it with every roast, but when you're starting out, I think it's just important to appreciate those kind of little things. Because we get to this point where we're always like, we believe everything people say, and like, oh, you have to do it this way because of such and such. And I'm the kind of person who likes to see, okay, why do we do that? And then I'll just, kind of see what it tastes like right after the roast, and then maybe a day after, 2 days after, and then hopefully I save enough to where I forget it, and it's a light roast, and I'll have it a month later, and it'll taste amazing. But don't feel like you have to, there's no, set guidelines. Don't feel like you need to roast and you have to wait a day. You always could try a roast after. Right after when you're done. Or even leave it out for a few hours and then see what it tastes like. You're not breaking any written rules. Anyways, so now I'm going to break the written rule of not brewing, and I'm going to do a quick tasting, a little cupping. Oh, and then when you're done, close this if you're going to do another roast. Just try never to leave this open. Because it always ends up in a heartbreak. Also, another big thing, when you're roasting, your trier has an up position and a down position. Make sure when you put your trier back, it's in the lock position. If you don't do that, beans will collect in here, and you'll have yourself a little mini fire. And it's I remember I pulled it out once and it was fire. I put it back in, and then I was gonna drop it, but I was like, oh shit, that's gonna cause a bigger fire. And it was one of these things where I didn't know what to do. So eventually I just unplugged it, took us all out, and then restarted the roast. Yeah, just be careful when you like, because sometimes I'll put it back and I'll just leave it in this position, and you'll pull it out and there's just beans covered in, they're black and charred and caught on fire sometimes. Another thing, good habit to do is just pull this out and just dump it. I think I did a little too hot. You can see there was like a little bit of chaff fire in there. I did start it at 85. I probably should have started at like 75 instead of 85%. But you live and you learn. You can note that too in your roast. Like maybe start at 75 instead of 85. You could clean that out with here. Another good thing to have is canister of air. Someone told me that the ones in the can kind of taste bitter. I don't know how they knew that, but I'm going to take their word for it. So it might be good to get one of these blowers. And what you could do, you can exit. It all depends. I've, especially with light roast, I feel like the longer you wait, I think the better it tastes. But at the same time, it's not going to taste like dramatically different. It will taste a lot different. Well, maybe if you're new, like it won't. You'll be like, oh, it's about the same. Tastes the same to me. But yeah, I did notice like if I do ultra light roast, which I guess is a thing for like a month or so, I did notice the taste was a lot different. But yeah, there's some beans where it's like the day of and the day after I taste it, and I'm like, what was the big deal, guys? Why did I have to wait this long? All right, this is actually, I need to sell this unit, so at least I know it works. And a lot of people who like dark roast, they really like it on the Skywalker. I did a dark roast, and all my Charbucks homies, they're like, oh man, this is a really good dark roast. So I always find it interesting when they like it a lot darker. Like people who prefer dark, they're like, yeah, the Skywalker does a really good job with dark roast. I didn't know that. I always thought it did great on. I know it does a great job on medium roast, and does okay with light roast. But anyways, let me go get the. So another big component of coffee roasting is cupping. There's procedures like SCA guidelines on how to do cupping. But honestly, if you're going to do cupping, you want to use a way that you know you're going to do the same over and over. And it's going to be like every roast, you know, you're going to just keep it the same. So I have one of these X blooms that I like to use. Not because I like throwing money away, but I do like the aspect of where it actually keeps it pretty consistent. If I could find the parts for it. Actually, I might have to leave soon too. But yeah, I usually use this for when I do my tasting of the beans. And it keeps it really consistent across each one. Like I could have the same cup of coffee every single time with this, which I really like. I do appreciate that. I just got to find the piece that connects to it. Oh, shit. All right, hold on. How many minutes? Yeah, I got like 5 more minutes before I can pick up my kid. Oh, god damn it. Ugh. somewhere. All right. Anyways, I don't know if I could find it, but I'll show you what I use for my bean container. I like it. I like the X Bloom for the aspect that when I do my V60s, they're never consistent. I always fuck up somewhere. I do something different. My pores, I don't do a certain technique the right way, and it literally makes a difference in the taste, and it pisses me off every single time because it's like, what the fuck did I do last time that made the same bean taste a lot better? Did I not make my circles concentric? Did I not like do a certain thing? Where if I just do this, it kind of just, it takes all that part out of it. And I think it's more important for me when I do that for cupping. But at the same time, you could use the SCA protocol where you like put it in a cup and you put some beans in there, and then you break the, I forgot what, there's a term where you break something and then you sip it, and then you got your spoon and it's all fancy, and it really works, and it's meant to be an affordable way of doing it. I just like having a cup after. I'm not here just to taste. But anyways, if you get one of these airscapes, I love this for when I'm done with roasting. So I'll just put these in here. Right here. And you just push that in, and then you turn it over, and then it seals it. Cover it up. Nice way of storing them. But honestly, you could use a paper bag, or not paper bag, a plastic bag, and then put it in a put it somewhere dark. And the other one I use are these ones when I'm doing my cubing. So I'll put if I'm doing small roast on my Cafe Logic, or I'm doing on my cubing, I might put them in here. And these are just like little, I forgot what these are called. I know they're from Fellow. But yeah, you just like twist the top and it takes all the air out. And once it's green, it usually tells you all the air is out and you're good. And you can even hold it from there and it shouldn't fall. Fellow Atmos, there you go. You'll have one of those. And probably a good idea to get a good labeler, because a lot of times I'll put it in these and I'll forget what I roasted. But god damn it. Or what I usually do, if I get Sweet Maria, I like doing this. Though I don't have a cabinet on my on my setup I have it at. We're supposed to put a cabinet in, but now you have me thinking, if I do put a cabinet there, how tall is it gonna have to be? Sweet Maria, sometimes they have the good stickers sometimes, where it kind of peel off and you can reuse it. Fuck. I was trying to tell Will to add an option to where you can hook it up to a Rolo printer and just print out like a fancy little label. That would save me so much time. God damn it. Okay, so Sweet Maria has opted to use the cheap stickers again. I usually do it like that. They usually peel off better than that. I'll have to make another label for this. But for a while, Sweet Maria was really using these really nice ones. It peeled off really well, and I could slap it back on a bunch of things. Yeah, so make sure, I think that's it. I think the guy that asked how to do it, yeah, Nagy left. Okay, so that's basically a V1 walkthrough.
I know a lot more people are going to be getting some over Christmas, so I look forward to meeting y'all. But it is 11:55. I gotta go pick up my kid. I was gonna use this, but I'll use it later. I gotta go. But thanks for joining. I will try to get the cormorant to work next time without it burning my house. So yeah. Anyways, thanks for joining. I appreciate y'all staying for this long. But yeah, any questions for V1, V2, feel free to ask. We're not associated with any vendor, so you could talk shit as much as you want about them. It's okay. It won't hurt my feelings. They're Some of them are pretty shitty. But yeah. Anyways, take care. I'll see you later.